Michael Carrick has done it again. He's won against a big team where everyone has written us off completely, but me. Smash the like, subscribe if you're brand new. It will be an absolute pleasure to get more Man United fans or likewise fans involved. Now, going into the tactical kind of phase thing, was it any different this time around? Yes, it was. So we're going to go diving straight into it tactically, how Arsenal could not decimate Man United and how Man United came alive, especially in the second half. Different tactics this time around. So, you know, Carrick can show that he can actually, you know, change his ways a small touch with small tweaks, which we haven't seen under a Manchester United manager in a long time. Last time we see something like this is probably Louis van Gaal, and that was a long time ago. That was actually Michael Carrick's would you say mentor, mentee, whatever? So yeah, let's get straight down into it. Manchester United 3 Arsenal 2, and this is how we set up. Now I think most times on, you know, where you're going on Sky Sports or anything, you would see it looks more like a 4-2-3-1. It wasn't really the case. Now, Man United did set up in more of a 4-4-2 in the first half. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, Arsenal had our number big time. Yeah, as soon as they got the ball, it was pretty much gung-ho. You know, they were on us to the point, you know, where United were camped in and we couldn't even make a pass. It was very difficult for the first half an hour, and it dropped us more into a shape like this. And also, you know, they were moving the ball really fast. You know, Saka staying really wide, Trossard staying really wide, and they made a couple runs, and it was a bit different because hence Timber's goal, Hincapié having a little bit more freedom, who didn't have the greatest game like Timber in the first 30 minutes. What would happen was Timber would be making these darting runs as Kobe Mainoo's tracking Ødegaard. He would go into them spaces right there, and then therefore Hincapié will be making these darting runs right there. It was really difficult to get to really get by, and our whole game plan was pretty much to stop this man right there, which was Zubimendi. Anytime that you saw him get the ball, you'd see that Mbumo, who's right next to him right now, would try to track him and make sure that he couldn't make those balls going forward. You know, with Zubimendi, the way he likes to do things, he's got a scan of a lot of the pitch. We've seen it many different times. But there was another pressing trigger after the first 30 minutes. Now, Dorgu and Shaw, if I highlight them right now, you'd see that they actually done a pretty decent job on the likes of Bukayo Saka. Dalot and Diallo done a really good job on the likes of Leandro Trossard. Now, Trossard was really quiet. So Diallo and Dalot, I've got no criticisms to speak on Dalot. I do have an agenda against him. I do have not the greatest faith in him, but yesterday he played a clean game. Dalot wasn't the man that you would even think that was even on the pitch at some point. That's how quiet Trossard was over there. See, Arsenal changed the way they played. That little touch, and I think that suited us quite a lot, personally. Anyways, forget rid of all of this, right? They changed their game, and what I mean by that is Timber playing more in inverted and Hincapié also playing more inverted. Saka and Trossard pretty much doing the lines, trying to get in behind our defense. And you know what? It did happen a couple times. It really did, right? From what I was seeing, and I'm pretty sure all you guys were seeing as well, was all Saka was trying to do is first beat your man, get down the line, get into the byline there, and then straight away get onto the pitch, stick it in the box and see for the best and hit it there, right? Well, I don't know why that's happening like that. It was as simple as that. Same with Trossard, getting the line down here and then straight away get into the box, hit a diag. Yeah, I don't know why that's doing like that. Just hit a diag, and then hopefully they'll find someone like Jesus or Declan Rice in the box, and they were flooding that box. Loads of times. You saw Jesus getting in the fold. You saw Ødegaard pretty much doing there. Declan Rice was playing really high. No, sorry, not even Declan Rice. He would drop deep. Zubimendi would make these deep line runs pretty much straight into the box. Back post, Declan Rice would cover. And then, you know, Hincapié and Timber making those runs that I really hate. And pretty much all they were doing is, let's flood this area. If we flood this area, there should be a point where United might give it up in the first 30 minutes. And then, as you know, they scored the goal, you know, from our own goal. We are gifting goals. And Arsenal, yet again, I think this is their fourth or fifth own goal that, you know, that they've actually capitalized from a side in the Premier League, and it's helped them. And if not, it was a corner. So, and you could even debate if that was an own goal, maybe. I don't know. Up to you guys. But what I really like, I don't know why it keeps doing this. This is a little bit weird. But something changed after the first goal. Their tempo just absolutely capitulated. Absolutely capitulated. You know, if we bring back all these players right here, we started getting on the ball a little bit more, right? And it was when Man United started getting a little bit more comfortable, it was like, okay, maybe there is going to be a little something. Even with Mbumo, if we even try and look at how we even created that goal, they'll say, oh, but Man United got gifted the goal. You know, but sometimes I look at things and I don't think we were gifted it. I think it was from Manchester United's press. When Manchester United press, right? Why can't we get that little bit of credit? You know, when you look at it, you know, the passing lanes were done. Ødegaard, again, bit of non-existent kind of play. You know, David Raya, Mbumo, he was coming on Saliba's blind side. Timber was over here. Zubimendi was trying to drop deep. You know, Declan Rice trying to make a little run in behind, so, you know, he couldn't actually get seen. And, you know, Ødegaard just moved him out of the way. He's just irrelevant these days, isn't he? But what I don't understand is Saliba, these two here were trying to play football, right? And did anyone notice, like I said earlier, right? If I'm going to move my camera real quick, because this is on their side, I always found that Zubimendi was the pressing trigger, and there was one more, right? It was actually Gabriel. These two were the pressing triggers today. And any time that Zubimendi got on the ball, he had to keep playing backwards. Hence, giving it to Timber. Hence, giving it to Saliba, whoever. Oh, he can curve it. I didn't even realize. JLA's done bits. Thank you. I was looking for the curved arrow. He kept playing backwards, whether it's going all the way back to Raya, whether it's going back to Gabriel. It wouldn't actually really matter. He kept playing backwards. Mbumo was there. Fernandez was on him. Saliba, you know, trying to make them balls into Saliba. Saliba keep going a little bit forward, and before you know it, Zubimendi will try to drop deep. But it was the pressing trigger of Manchester United that I found that was the reason why we ended up scoring that goal. But something changed. I saw after we was doing our 4-4-2, 4-2-4, as we did against Manchester City, I don't know if anyone kind of noticed, if we go into more of the second half, right, is that Casemiro would drop real deep. He would drop absolutely deep into a back three. Now, we saw that with Diego Dalot at times last week against Manchester City, right? And I thought this was the part where I don't know what happened with Arsenal. Maybe it was the fact that maybe that they overthought it, or, you know, they just couldn't handle it, or I couldn't tell you what the man was thinking, but it was never really gonna work, was it? You know, when you got, if I put it like right here, Maguire, it's simple. What a rock, by the way. He's absolutely been class. So it didn't actually look like a 4-4-2 every single step of the way. It was as simple as this. Casemiro would act as like the central centre-back, like a libero kind of, right? And Kobe Mainoo would not be too far away, never ever too far away from him. You know, Bruno Fernandes would be in there, but Bruno Fernandes would be up here, still close. But all would happen is that if you notice, our fullbacks were still really, really high, right? You got Bruno Fernandes right there. Luke Shaw's still right here. He's like, okay, so how is this working? All that happened was our wingers, right, would just tuck in. And there would never, ever be a gap that would be allowed between Manchester United's lines. And it still looked like Man United were playing in a 4-4-2 shape, right? Every time we got the ball, you know, with Timber coming on left back, Saka trying to get past, we were bopping the ball around like it was no tomorrow. And that was really nice to see, because Man United were doing rondos. We could see Cunha's kind of way of playing. But anytime they tried to press, Man United would just play these simple passes, right? Even if it went from Dalot into Diallo, he would pop it straight into Maguire, and then Maguire would just pop it straight into Mainoo. And it just kept happening again and again and again. Rondos for days, and it just kept cycling. And Arsenal, they found it really, really difficult to get by. And I was getting more confident by the minutes. And this is the moment for me in about the 60th minute when I just thought the likes of Arteta just overthought it. And this is where the game was pretty much won. Even with Dorgu with that absolute screamer, you could see that, I don't need to go do like a play of the goal because it's not really a tactic. It was just Bruno and Dorgu doing absolute fantastic things. Arteta really messed up their game. I'm being so serious. I'm going to bring it. You can see the left back here. Timber went left back. Nkapia came off the pitch. They brought on Ben White. That was going to change the game. They took off Ødegaard. They talk about Kobbie Mainoo always coming off the pitch. Oh, we can't run. Oh, we can't do consecutive 90 minutes. The guy ran the most out of any player in Manchester City game and the Arsenal game. But yet, he should be sold and he's not the future. And you know what? We should look to different players. Eze coming on, right? That's cute. I don't care about that. Zubimendi coming off. Rice going into the fold. He's off. Marino's on. Trossard comes off. Madueke on. And you know what the funny thing is? They switched Saka to the left side, right? And the worst part is Gyökeres came on and Jesus came off. Now, I don't know about whatever you guys think, right? But when you're seeing the likes of these kind of players, what does that tell you? There's not really many technicians on the pitch anymore, are there? Right? Oh, I don't know what's happened there. I'm still getting used to this this little system. What does that tell you? That tells me that I can't wait to get a set piece and I can't wait to get a dodgy goal, which they did. It actually gambled and paid off. Gyökeres wasn't as bad, but he became the best defender for us in the 94th minute. Couldn't believe it, loved it, or was it 96th, whatever, right? But the difference is, when you look at those players on the pitch, I don't look at crazy footballers, especially in the middle of the park. Rice, he's definitely technical, but he's not Zubimendi. Marino on the pitch, definitely got some technical ability, but he can't move the ball like Ødegaard. Eze, as great as he is, more of an attacker, you want him in front more goal. Definitely great technically, but not someone that's going to dictate play. Timber going left back, obviously coming on his right side. That he's not going to do that line. It made the Lowe's job so much easier just to stay here. Well, Saka thought he could do the line, and they all thought that Timber was pretty much going to keep doing this inverted thing, trying to infiltrate the box. And there's many clips to see that as well. So it's up to you. Keep trying to do this inverted thing. But it made our job so much easier to the point, even this 3-2-5, they just couldn't get around it. Gyökeres pressing. He tried to press Martinez. I don't know why, but he was just always on this side over next to Martinez. Marino's trying to get more on Mainoo. Casemiro is just pretty much doing this libero kind of role, just collecting the ball. I was just really impressed between these two. They never, ever too far apart from one another. Never. And I've really loved that. Because we haven't seen solidarity in our midfield and keeping spaces really close in a while. I don't think we actually ever seen it pass and move football. And after all of that come off and Mbeumo got knackered, Cunha came on, and this was brilliant. And you know what? And this is the exact player that you need to bring off to get some confidence. And he couldn't help but talk about Carrick in a great light. How much he's helping the players' football. They all seem like they're just happier than they did under Amorim. Too much information going on, trying to take in as well. Dorgu, absolute beast. Him and Bruno Fernandes were absolutely brilliant. And you know what? Majority of the time when we did have the ball, it was simple. Diallo would stay wide. After when we got real comfortable and a lot more possession, Dorgu would tuck in, Shaw would go a bit further up, Casemiro and Mainoo pretty much there with one another all the time, and then Delo's obviously being the one that was more inverted. So in that case, because you could see that Delo was making these supporting runs, being a supporting figure, and it became a little bit like how it was under Middlesbrough, but not totally. Dorgu was just a madman. Cunha as well, just with the ball. Bruno Fernandes not too far at many occasions. A lot of the team was just so cohesive and so tight. And you could see in the last 80 minutes, 15 minutes, that how, United actually acted like a team and a unit. And it was really nice to see. And I think the best part about Carrick with this game that I think surprised many, because if it was Ruben Amorim and he was 2-2 at Arsenal, we would see the likes of Heaven and extra defenders come off. As soon as Dorgu got cramp, I believe he's got cramp. He doesn't have actually a hamstring injury, as Carrick was alluding to. He didn't even bother thinking, I'm going to put on someone that's a little bit more defensive. Going to take him off. And the best part is like Sesko, a striker, you're going to come on. Cunha, you're going to go on the left. And this is how we're going to play. And the maddest thing is, Sesko, another substitute who made a big difference, was actually the big reason why we got that third goal from just holding the ball up against Saliba. So we actually changed the tactics to go long a little bit more. Because if you saw Larmans would actually, if he was all, well, then again, I've got both keepers in the wrong way. What an absolute howler. Larmans would actually try to focus down against Timber. Dorgu won 3. He's not on the pitch right now, but he won 3 out of his 4 duels in his headers. And he kept pinning back Timber all game long. And this time around from Larmans, you know, he pinged the ball right to Sesko. Sesko was easily the marker for, you know, just to go long and try to create something in the end, and which it did. Sesko into Kobe Mainu. You know, after that, you know, it's history. You know, we win 3. You know, Mainu's up there. Casemiro is not far apart. We actually played a lot higher. We went for the jugular. We went for the win. And that, you know, in a lot more times that United would 100% be looking at it a little bit differently and a little bit more conservative. We actually went for them and we actually got that goal. That goal was beautiful, but it was the intent. We wasn't reactive. You know, we was proactive. And that was the best part about Carrick Ball, this whole situation on the pitch. And we were doing rondos and the rest of it. The confidence of the team is sublime. Absolutely thrilling to actually witness, for me, as a United fan anyways, and maybe for you guys. It's just Arsenal in the second half. I think Liverpool showed a great blueprint how to get past this Arsenal side. And it was pretty much a replica. We bopped them in the last, you know, in the second half, from about the 30th minute to about the 75th minute. They couldn't do nothing until we got to the 80th minute. We decided that we're going to sit more in a low block and then we're going to go hit them on the counter, which we absolutely did. But when you look at the Sesko goal, that wasn't from a counter attack. That was just from absolutely great play. But some people just don't want to recognize that Man United are not always going to be this counter-attacking team. We set up in a mid-block after the 30th minute. Of course, we were in a low block. They forced us into a low block. But in the mid-block, right, when we came up and we got more confident, got more touches on the ball, well, go have a look at it for yourself. Bruno Fernandes was I think, the first player that had the most touches on the ball in his best position. And remember, I used to be anti-Bruno. Now I'm thinking, I changed my tune 2 months ago. This guy is needed so much. And Martinez was the second player to have the most touches on the pitch, which is crazy. He was a centre-back and he made the most line-breaking passes out of any player in the whole pitch. So there we have it, man. Great win. Carrick Ball on the rise. Can't wait for the Fulham game. I'm going to go to the Tottenham game myself and have a little view for it myself. But anyways, people, smash the likes, subscribe if you're brand new, and hopefully we get some more dubs. Yeah. Hey, Arsenal.